Hello and welcome, glorious Varens. We hope that you are
Hello.
just as excited as we are for our August development update. We have quite a doozy. Buckle in. Make
Oh
sure
my
you
gosh.
hydrate. Go get your water now. Get some coffee if you need it, because it's going to be a long one. How are
Yes,
you
you can
doing, Steven?
I am doing very good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm
Yeah?
moved in. I got my wedding venue locked in.
Oh
Life is
my
great.
goodness.
Work
It's
is good.
exciting.
I
Yay.
know.
I
Um,
got to admit I am a I don't normally get nervous for our live streams. I really enjoy them, right? Honestly. But this is a topic that we haven't touched for a while. And there's a lot of updates and I think it's exciting and I think the community is going to enjoy it. But like you said, this is going to be a long one. Probably you guys can expect that this stream will last around 2 hours. So
yeah.
like Margaret said, make sure you have some snacks, make sure you pace yourself, get up and stretch, move your legs. You got to stay healthy during this time.
Yeah.
So,
Or get
yeah.
one of those like little treadmill things that you walk at your desk with. I need
Hmm.
one. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be a good long one for y'all. So stay tuned. But obviously you can see below here our run of show. We have some quick reminders that we're gonna go through. Then we're gonna get right into the Node Village updates and then
Ooh,
studio updates and then Q&A. So it's gonna be a tight one.
exciting.
Yeah. And we will be having a whole bunch of people joining us today, so it's going to be exciting.
Yeah,
But
I think we have what, five developers that are joining us today, right? I
roughly, I
think
think, yeah,
3, 4, 5. Yeah.
maths are hard
Maths.
on the fly. But we'll do quick updates. So, quick updates. First and foremost, we've got our YouTube spotlight comment, and this one comes from Slender MMO, or if that's leet speak, SL3NDER. And they want to know, is the development team moving away from action? Oh,
Oh,
this is the wrong scene.
that's the
Sorry.
wrong slide.
It's the wrong one. I thought I grabbed the
All
other one. Well, I will grab the right one in a moment. But the question
right.
is the development team moving away from action combat, or is action combat more prevalent with the melee classes and the healing slash range classes are more tab target other than AoE spells? And we have had people asking me about this as we've had the cleric
Sure.
update. Obviously, with cleric, it's a little harder to show tab target in action combat because it's healing
Yeah,
oriented.
for sure. Well, so to answer that question, we have not moved away from our hybrid approach to the development of Ashes of Creation's combat. Um, and specifically to reiterate, that approach is incorporating elements of skill shots, fast and reactive gameplay that is situationally relevant. And incorporates the camera mode of both tab targeting as well as action combat reticle. Um, that's something that is still in progress. We haven't moved away from that. However, to note, our approach of that hybridization is going to incorporate things like templated skill shots, directionally relevant activated abilities, along with the ability to dodge, to roll projectiles that can impact collision. Those are elements of action combat that are present. Now, when we talk about tempo or pacing of the combat, we are not going to be as fast paced. And as you've been seeing updates from the development of our archetypes and our classes, we are not going to be as fast paced as some of the more Twitch oriented combat styles of some action MMOs or some action combat systems. It's meant to be a blend between the two. And in that regard, for tab targeting purposes, it needs to live comfortably with each other. So that's probably what you're seeing. The opportunity to utilize the reticle-based combat mode is still available. Designs are taking that into account, and that is our direction for the foreseeable future.
Awesome, awesome. Then next up in our announcements here, we do have discussion round. Stephen will be joining a whole slew of
Ooh,
people over on Yokai Theater's channel. You've seen a few
yeah.
of these interviews in the past. They're always good fun. I know that these folks have been working very hard on getting everything set up so that we hope that you all enjoy it as well.
Yeah,
Anything
that's
you want to
exciting.
mention on that front?
I have been on that one before, haven't I? I've been on
Yeah, you
Discussion Run. This is
have.
my second time.
This will be, I think they're going to have a
Yeah,
different cast with them, but yeah.
nice. Yeah, I'm excited for that. That's going to be fun. When is that? That's September 10th?
Yeah, September 10th
Very
at 12
cool.
p.m. Pacific.
All right.
So
So
definitely
make sure you
tune
guys
in.
get some questions in for that. I think they're collecting questions. They're pretty good at making sure no repeats. They've been around for a little
Ooh,
while.
you're putting pressure on them.
Oh no, called it out.
We do have a bunch of social that has gone out for this too. So if you don't mind heading on over, retweeting, sharing, spreading some love, that would be wonderful. Awesome. And we have a new dev discussion. This one is about role play. And I know there's a bunch of y'all out there who are interested in that stuff. Definitely head on over and tell us, or not role play, in-game content. Role play was last time. In-game content. What are you? What we want to know is what are you looking forward to most in game? Examples, maybe a game system specifically, a fantasy you hope to carry out, or a specific activity with players. So definitely go tell us what kind of content you want to see in game as our content team is creating things.
Now, what if your favorite in-game content is role playing?
That could be it. We just did a report on roleplay. That's why it's like in my mind. That was our last of discussion that we did before. So, but you can still go give us feedback on that if you have thoughts, or if roleplay is your favorite part of content, feel free to add it into that as well. It's the more information, the better. And also, we do have our next one is going to be coming up. Is going to be about your dream node. So, if there's things that you would like to see in nodes, especially after you watch today's stream, tell us all the things because we are curious. We would love to know. And
Absolutely.
the last thing I have to share with you all today is about the cosmetics. We do have the None Forgotten cosmetics that will be swapping over on September 13th at 11 a.m. Pacific. And with that reminder that the September pack that is coming up is going to be the final pre-order packs. We do have an FAQ on the August one right now if you want to read that. But the final dates and things like that for the September pack will be in the September FAQ. So keep your eye out on that. And if you have additional questions, let us know, and we'll try to make sure those are covered as well.
And I do want to I do want to comment just real quick on this. For those of you who are feeling FOMO about the packs being discontinued, that is not the intent and purpose for discontinuing the pre-order packs for Alpha 2. We still have a lot of testing that we need to do, and we have a significant number of players that we are anticipating and who have already pre-ordered for Alpha 2. And before we potentially open up again people to have access to purchase into Alpha 2, we need to vet some things regarding concurrencies and total player counts. And, feeling very confident in that. So I want to give the forewarning that if you do not participate in purchasing, pre-order packages for Alpha 2, there may be an opportunity to do that again in the future. So don't walk away from this feeling like, you're definitely going to miss out if you don't participate in the pre-order packs. But next month we will be discontinuing them, and we'll have some more information on that coming up, as Margaret said, in the September info.
Yeah, and keeping in mind that we'll have giveaways and things like that for Alpha 2 access. So even if you aren't able to purchase, I know some people are like, well, I can't even afford that. So we understand. We're going to have some other ways for you to get involved. Just stay tuned for those things. Extra Lives coming up soon too. So keep that in mind. That's like an announcement of an announcement. But you all know we partake in that every year. And the other thing is that I know that people are like, oh, they're showing off all the this content, and where packs are closing, so that must be Alpha 2 is really close. As
right
Stephen has stated in the past, it is not right around the corner, but it's not years away. So
yes,
keep that in mind and set that precedent with yourself and expectation. Don't get too excited because I know people.
You can get excited. Don't get too hyped. Excitement is fine.
Yeah.
Hype is.
Don't get disappointed.
Yes, exactly. No,
we don't mind your excitement.
And just to be clear, I want to touch on that real quick as well. right? Alpha 2 is something we are working very hard towards, and we will continue to update you on that progress as we normally do every month with these showcases, giving you guys insight into the development of things. You get to see in real time, how things are progressing and what the world is looking like and how the game is feeling. That's the whole purpose of this, to collect that feedback. So don't feel pressured, right? We understand it. We're players too. We don't like that stuff. And that's why we took this transparent process.
Yeah, and we mentioned in our FAQ too that we want to make sure that the experience for Alpha 2 folks is at a stage that we're very happy with, like that server
Yes.
performance is good, that client performance is good. In order to ensure that, we need to make sure that we can support the amount of players that are currently part of
Absolutely.
Alpha 2, and then
Yes.
any additional players that we would want beyond that. Cool.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to get into our node update, but that means we're going to also invite some other folks in a moment here. But I know that, Stephen, you wanted to do some prefaces as like this
Yes.
first segment of this is going to be a slideshow oriented thing, similar to what we did with the
Yes.
freeholds, and people seem to like that.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So we got a lot of positive feedback with the freeholds presentation, specifically as it related to having that kind of PowerPoint slide oriented. Anytime, I think I talked about this in the past, but anytime you have very detail oriented systems design, it's easy to kind of get lost in the details. People run off on, tangents. Well, what about this? How are you going to solve this? How are you going to solve this? And that a lot of times is the discussion that we have in a development setting or in a design room conversation, but we can't capture all of that nuance in a single live stream about some of these systems just because of how big they are.
We'd be sitting in a 6-hour thing.
That's why we have literally hundreds of hours of conversations recorded on the development side during this development process that, we record all of our internal meetings and our internal dialogues for posterity's sake and afterwards so that we can talk about what it took to build this game and have, kind of presentations about that. But there's a lot there, and we have to condense that down to something that's digestible, right? And something that can be not just relevant to a core audience like you all are, who are tuning into this development update, but also to the audiences that exist out there who are a bit detached from the process, and rightfully so. They're not interested in following development journeys, which is totally acceptable, but it has to be digestible for them as well. And so to that degree, based on how successful you guys responded to the freeholds presentation, we are going to preface this video with a little bit of a slide presentation and incorporate some of our design team to have that discussion. And the intent and purpose of this portion is to reaffirm previous designs that were captured and understood by the community through the amazing wiki that is upkept by Lex. And that will reaffirm some of those designs, but it will also introduce to you a few new designs that we have picked up along the way and adjusted in order to accommodate some of the more fleshed out systems as we approached them over the course of the last year and a half. During
slide one is going to be that we've canceled nodes.
Exactly. It's all curated. There's no world design. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's no longer dynamic. No, I'm just kidding. I'd like to troll you all. Well, with that, I'm going to switch over to that and bring in some new folks to join us. So give me a moment. These slides will also be available to you all via the article that we're going to post. So if you I know it's hard to read. You're like, is this text for ants? Sometimes, but
what is a slideshow for ants?
Yes. All right. Welcome.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
What up, gamers?
So with us are two new folks. Some of them you've heard their voices before. Actually, both of them you've heard both of their voices. So I'll give you guys a moment to introduce yourselves once again. We've got Dr. Bucky.
Dr. Bucky.
Do you want to talk about who you are, what you do here at Intrepid?
Yeah, so hi, everyone. I'm Bucky. I've been on the last couple live streams, but I'm a gameplay designer here at Intrepid and working a lot with the systems team, fleshing out all these systems for the nodes and getting them all working. But I also work a bit with combat as well. But yep.
Yeah, you get the
And
best of both worlds there between combat and nodes.
Yeah, dude.
and
Just
you've
get my fingers
seen
and all the designs.
some
No.
of Bucky's, like when you were doing the node simulation stuff too. They've seen some of the
Yeah, that's
stuff that
right.
you've
That's
done with
right.
that, which has been pretty cool. Bucky's a jack of all trades. We enjoy you, Bucky. Stay with us. And of course, we've got the Juicedo, Chris. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do here at Intrepid.
Yeah, hi. I'm a senior game designer here at Intrepid, and I live in Nodeland. It's where it's what I live and breathe.
Yes, Chris is my right-hand node man when it comes to understanding everything. He has digested and regurgitated and digested again everything nodes.
All right. Well, if you guys are all good and we're Gucci, let's head on over to nodes. The first segment here we're going to go over is all about citizenship. So I'll hand it over to you, Chris.
Yeah, so
Yes.
citizenship is kind of, aside from nodes existing, one of the most important parts, right? So you as a player will get to become a citizen of these nodes. You're going to need to acquire some form of housing to be able to do that within that node's jurisdiction, its zone of influence. Those forms of housing can be an inn, an apartment, a static housing, or a freehold. A static housing is, oh, go ahead, Stephen.
Oh, I was just going to say, and pointing out specifically, inns is something that most players probably, and most in our community, have not either heard before or did not get elaborated a bit. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about the intent and purpose behind why we introduced inns as an option?
Yeah, inns are intended to be our most kind of accessible form of housing, so that players will be able to become citizens should they desire to in an accessible way, because the other forms of housing are fairly limited.
Yes, yeah, and inns are something that are also. Sorry, I was just going to say inns are something that are also available even around the starting areas before you have an opportunity to go out into the node zones as well. And it provides players with additional storage. They have some limited furniture application that are on a per room basis, depending on the type of room you rent at an inn. That's possible as well. But citizenship, as you said, is one of the most foundational aspects of Ashes of Creation, right? You're expected to be a citizen at a node somewhere, and you cannot be a citizen at all nodes all the time, right?
Yeah, so you're gonna have to pay dues to be a citizen, which are regular, but there's a ton of benefits that come with being a citizen, right? You're gonna get reduced fees at what that node offers. You're gonna get reduced tax rates, and you're gonna get access to exclusive vendors based on its node type. If the node's collected relics, you're gonna have exclusive access to those. So there's tons of good reasons to be a citizen. And when you leave a node, you incur a cooldown before you can become a citizen again. So it's an important choice you have to make, and there's a cost to unmaking it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The players do have some follow-up questions, obviously from the freehold conversation about housing. They're wondering how much player housing will be available to a node, and because people are afraid to be homeless. So what are their options on Vera to not be homeless?
Well, the inns are one very good option, as we were just talking about, and those are kind of capped more by citizenship dues, as that is a soft cap that increases over time, right? When you choose to become a citizen, anybody can kind of get an inn to a degree without being a citizen. But in addition, apartments are another method, which are default and are part of every node has access to these apartments, and you can expand those apartment buildings, right, Chris and Bucky?
Yeah, you can. So the mayor can elect, as part of the service building system, which we'll talk about in a bit, to expand those apartments and make them allow them to have more citizens, right?
Right. And also different apartment types, such as penthouses that have different thresholds for the types of furnitures that they can house, whether they be legendary, more rare types of furnitures that require a better either static home or apartments. And to answer your question specifically, Margaret, when it comes to the type of numbers that we are playing with on a per node basis. Obviously, that's something that changes based on node stage. So the advancement of the node will dictate the number of node static housing. And there's a predefined amount of those because those exist within the world. Right now, we're still playing with those numbers. But if you were to think about the level of exclusivity between the different types of housing that we have, obviously the most exclusive when it comes to quantity is going to be freeholds, followed by in-node housing, followed by apartments, then followed by inns. So that is essentially, what it's going to break down wise exclusivity. We don't have firm numbers on what the static in-node housing is going to be on a per stage basis. That's something that we intend to test as part of Alpha 2.
Well, we
but
have
there
firm
is
numbers
going
internally, right? We're just not
Oh,
ready
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
share
No, no,
them.
no.
I
I
just want to
mean
be
is-
clear to people.
Yeah, sure. What I mean there is that we don't have a number we would feel confident giving the community right now and them holding us to that number because it is a variable we intend to use data to inform. And that data is going to be play testing with the community as part of Alpha 2.
Yes. I'm so excited. Housing stuff is so much fun for me. And then the other question here is in regards to citizenship. If I am a citizen of a node and I don't agree with leadership, how do I, or slash, what is involved in changing my citizenship to a different node? You mentioned there's a cooldown, but is there anything else that's involved in that?
Yeah, so I can take this one. So yeah, basically it's any time you can visit the town hall and renounce your citizenship at the node, but that comes with the cost of that. Now you go onto a cooldown where you can't actually join another node. So it kind of incentivizes players to try to make it work at their node and then try and like not just jump ship, right, if they don't like it and try and make changes in their node. But and then the one other caveat is that if your node's like destroyed in like a siege, for example, then you will be able to just right away join a new node. You don't have to wait on that cooldown, just so it's not like even further punishing in that scenario.
Yeah. And
Okay.
something to expand on the refugee status that Bucky was talking about is, the intent is that it is a normal process of the world to see PvP be a catalyst for change. That is one of the defining elements of our world building approach, and being a PvX game is that PvE builds the world and PvP changes the world. And as these nodes get destructed, and this should be a normal habit that players are accustomed to, seeing that landscape changing over time, because it is the breath of renewal that then is allowed as a result of that action. This refugee status to a degree brings down the friction that the player would have normally with finding a new node to become a citizen at. And we want those types of mechanics present so that players are not experiencing extreme friction after extreme friction after extreme friction to the point where it's just like, screw this, I'm done, right? We want to be able to make that a bit of an easier process. And so the refugee status reduces the cooldown period to joining a new node as a citizen, but it also reduces potentially some of the citizenship dues that might be present, some of the costs associated with it, and even policies, which we'll talk about a little bit later with Chris and Bucky here, can be adopted by other nodes when a siege occurs. That even makes it more incentivizing for players to come there as new citizens as well.
All right.
And I will to
Ooh,
to
go
kind of directly answer, if you don't want to leave your node in your mayorship, is not doing things you like. Most of these systems that we're going to talk about here have some amount of like citizenship buy-on that's like required for a thing to happen. So it may stagnate a little if you don't like your mayorship, but you can stop them from doing destructive things, and you can stop them
Yes.
from spending things in ways you don't like.
Yeah, that
Right.
might be a good segue into the next slide.
Well, there's a bunch of community questions. I don't know if we want to answer a couple of them or speed run through some.
I would try to limit it to probably around 2 or 3 questions per slide. Otherwise, we'll never get to the video.
Okay. I guess they're wanting to know if inns are instanced rooms and if they're player owned. Should be
Yeah.
yes or no.
So instances are apartments and inns. And these are shared instances where you can invite party members to join you in the instance as well, if you want to do a little bit of role play or group activities in the instances. And then ownership on the apartments and the inns does not exist. You rent these locations.
And is it one person who can rent them?
Correct. Yes.
Same with
And then
housing.
there's-
It's like one person owns it. Okay.
Correct. And then you can have family permission set to have access to those as well.
And then the last one here I'll ask is, How will limited housing work with players who stop playing? So if someone leaves the game and hasn't come back for a while, will they eventually be evicted to allow other
Yes.
players to utilize those spaces?
Yes, the wheel of tax and death is always turning in Vera. And taxes are a necessary component in order to upkeep and maintenance the freeholds or the housing that you own. And after a period of not paying those taxes, the taxman may visit you and put you in a default status, after which period of time, if you do not settle that debt, you will lose your property.
All right. Let's move on to mayorship. And I will hand it over to you, Justo.
Yeah, so obviously mayorship is another really important part of nodes. It's how we kind of define it as the mayor is tasked with initiating changes to the quality of a node, right? Not the progress of it, but the quality of it. So there's 4 main ways a mayor can get elected based on the node type. They're all kind of play to different strengths. Scientific, which we had in Alpha 1, which we've changed a little since then. It's not a your single popular vote. It's now a ranked choice vote.
And we should take note of that in real life as well. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
The economic node type is a blind bid auction. So the player with the most money is going to be the node, or going to be the mayor. And Divine is going to be a PvE like favor event that players participate in and have to grind through to earn as much favor as possible, right? And then military
We've never revealed the military one.
And the military is a trial by combat event. Now, this is kind of the node enters a state where players who register are going to PvP each other in kind of a free-for-all situation, and citizens who aren't registered are going to get to back a candidate and PvP with them.
Yes. So let me set the stage just real quick, because I don't think in the past we've talked about the potential of having I think it was like a military champion, and you could equip that champion and the champion would fight for you and you'd accumulate points, and that was kind of to prevent the strangeness between like the 1v1 scenario. But what we've decided is that moving forward for military nodes, we will be implementing an election method that leverages the ruined state of nodes as a PvP battleground, so to speak, in a form of an instance where citizens and or candidates can participate. And during the week, you will have a number of opportunities to participate in a timed event where you can pledge your support to a candidate, or if you are a candidate, you will have objective-based gameplay within a windowed period of time within the node proper, and you will attempt to go to those objectives, execute the required interaction, and you will accumulate points based off of your performance during those events. And at the end of those events, overall, the highest point contributor will be elected the mayor. Now, what that event entails is you as a citizen can pledge support, and you will have open PvP within the node proper that groups of those candidates and their pledged supporters can attempt to secure and combat over the objectives over an hour period of time, perhaps a number of times a week. And then at the end of those events will be the election result. That is the intent and desire behind this system. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be interesting, but obviously the purpose of these demonstrations / discussions is to give you guys an opportunity to give your thoughts, whether or not you think that's interesting, what you think could be improved, where are the areas where you would have concerns. That's a really cool update, I think, for the military nodes that you guys can chat about.
Some questions that are coming in from a chat in all the places. We're looking at Discord, we're looking at Twitch, we're looking at social. So we're keeping an eye on all the places. They're getting fed to me. One of the questions is, are all the benefits that mayors can give to a node the same for every type of node, or are there differences per type of node?
There definitely are differences. The differences, some systems have some of the things that mayors can do are more universal. But then some systems have very specific, if your race has your node has a certain dominant race, or your node is a certain type, or it's in a certain biome. So there's even differences between kind of where it is too.
Okay. And then this one's just a funny one. Does the mayor get a free home? Just because I think that's funny.
Their home is the town hall where they slave away all day long. All day long.
They get to decorate their office. Um, uh, People want to know. So I'm guessing that's not the case. They still have to have their own home. Okay.
It's a predicate. You have to be a citizen before you can be the mayor. So you need to.
So you need to
meet
know what
that.
it's like to be
Yeah.
one of the lackeys. No. What happens if a mayor leaves? Like if they quit playing the game, and what will happen to the mayorship if that occurs?
So some of the decisions that the mayor makes, they have a period of time within which they can make the decision. And if they don't, the system will make a decision for them. Some of those interactions, not all, however. There is a constant conversation with regards to the systems we're creating for mayors to interact with. How much is too much failure that we're going to give agency to a player to be a bad faith mayor, essentially? And part of that is not just if they quit, but if they want to actively do the node harm, how much harm can they really do? And those two things kind of align with one another. But yeah, some of the systems have automated responses and some don't. So there is some damage that can be done. You have to choose your mayor wisely. And in the event that somebody quits, then there's an election cycle for a reason, and you vote that person out, or you have a different, if there's a different election method, you have that person removed.
All right. Kill them. No, I'm just kidding. And the last one here is, can an enemy of the state be set on any random player, or are there some other prerequisites that need to be met?
No, you cannot have an enemy of the state condition assigned to a player. There are methods by which you can have flag statuses associated with other node citizens through like a node war, and you can have open PvP in the world if your nodes are at war with one another, but you cannot denote a particular individual as an enemy of the state and have the guards kill them when they approach the node, right? This is the intent of the system, is not to necessarily exclude players and create, cliques or factions within the nodes per se.
Everyone's just going to make Steven the enemy of state.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm just
You
kidding.
don't want me as the enemy of state. I have the ultimate weapon. I'll just delete.
Really?
No, just kidding.
Okay. Just nuke everything. Spawn
No,
3 million
no.
bears. That's
No,
Steven's
I'm just a
specialty.
sandal wanderer anyway, so it's okay.
I'm just trolling anyway. Next up, we have mandates to keep things moving, and I'll hand it over to you, Chris.
Yeah, so mandates are kind of a new thing. I don't think we've ever really talked about them
Yes.
No.
outside of the company before. But they're functionally what we're talking about. This energy system that mayors get to use to enact things, right? Enable service buildings or do constructions, etc. And they generate mandates by having citizens participate in these activities, right? So contributing to the construction of a service building, or doing mayoral commissions, which we'll talk about, and voting on policies. So the more citizens like what a mayor is doing, the more power they're going to get to do more things, and the less citizens like what they're doing, the less power they're going to get to do things.
Yeah, this kind of goes back to what Stephen was talking about on the last slide too, where it's like we're kind of concerned about limiting how much damage a bad faith mayor can do, right? And this is definitely one of those systems that, if you're doing good things that the citizens are agreeing with, and this is part of your power as a citizen, even if you think you don't have any power, this is one of your main things, is like agreeing with what the mayor's doing makes them able to do more actions and that hopefully are favorable for you. So
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
yeah.
So when we think about certain energy mechanics, usually they're provided as a way to give a throttle, right? And most of those throttles are incurred through specific design curated intent. However, this throttle exists in such a way where the citizens have the ability to either let the gas go for the mayor or pull it back a bit because they're doing things they don't necessarily want. And mayors have a unique ability to elicit change within the node proper, either through the destruction of certain buildings that have been constructed previously because there's a limited number of slots that buildings can be constructed within, or the kickoff of additional projects, or the certain types of policies that can be enacted. Like those things, those actions, the changing of a tax rate, they all have a unified source of energy requirement, and the energy requirement is a mandate. And you accrue those mandates, as Chris and Bucky were saying, through doing things that the population agrees with. And when you do things that the population doesn't agree with, your mandates suffer. And if you don't have mandates to do certain actions, then that's the way that the citizenship throttles back your ability to elicit change.
So the question we have from people is if there's a cap on the energy for mandates.
There is not currently a cap that's designed for mandates. However, mandates are an accrued energy through action. And actions have cooldowns associated with them that you can do them over certain periods of time. And they also have certain weights that are applied by design. So naturally, within a given period of time, a mayor will only have the ability to do so many things that generate mandates. And as a result, that is the soft cap. However, the system is built or is being built in such a way where that is a variable we can define through testing. When we see if there should be or should not be, we can add that at a later time.
And is there a way to counter those mandates?
Counter those mandates. What do you mean by that? Like,
Yeah.
if the mayor has acquired the mandates,
Mhm.
then they can use the mandates as they see fit. However, a lot of the interactions still require successful participation by the audience, by the citizens, right? Chris, if you want to talk a little bit about, well, actually, I think we have policies coming up in a second
Yeah, we
where
have
that's a great
policies that are coming
demonstration.
up. So can a mayor do just a simple vote? Like if they just want to ask people stuff, like, hey, I want to put up a poll, is that going to be something that's going to be available to them?
Like, one of you guys grab that if you want to.
Yeah, it's not something we've previously discussed. We've talked about having messages of the day for the mayor, and obviously there's still chat services and stuff that mayors can use to get the what's the
Feedback
word I'm
from the
looking for?
citizens.
Feedback from the citizens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, we want that to be something that's a bit more diegetic and not necessarily handheld by a survey system, right? We want, if the individual is interested in participating with their community, with their citizenship, there will be tools that they can use, such as the message of the day, such as chat,
Or
such as
yeah, citizenship chat, right? Like the mayor will probably have
exactly.
a special color name right there, and they can ask questions and just have conversations with the citizens.
A little
Correct.
Q&A with your mayor. That's cute. I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the RP and like how different nodes deal with their mayors. Like I'm like so excited for it because I've been part of a lot of different communities and every guild runs differently. I feel like every node is going to run differently, and I'm just excited to see that. We're already thinking
Absolutely.
on the community side what kind of fun streams we can do. The
And
last
I
question I
think,
have
Margaret,
here.
just
Go
real
ahead.
quick, because you touched on a great point there,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
is that we have a very we have a unique approach in that we are a non-faction based game. Many of the MMOs that a lot of us have played are faction based. So because of that, because we're non-faction based, we have this concept of pseudo factions that we have to create systems in such a way where we can present that. And what you just described essentially is a micro community or a pseudo faction that exists within the nodes. And as you described, like many of those are going to be very different across the landscape. And I think that creates a very compelling and interesting social diversity, so that when you're determining friend or foe, there is a landscape that is going to be constantly changing as a result of those different faction interests.
All right. And our last question here is, will a good mayor have a benefit for the next election? So they have some kind of like favor points or something like that so that they can get reelected? And how long is that term for?
Yeah, so there's no plan other than the mayor's actions to help them get reelected, right? If you do good things, you're more likely to get reelected because players will like you, but there's no systemic benefit to previously being the mayor.
Yeah.
Let's
ahead.
And I
move
wanted
on to.
or
Oh,
I
sorry,
said
go
one
ahead.
more
Yeah, go for it.
clarification about mandates, right? Like if you're when you become elected, you probably get a couple mandates, right? But then as you do good and you're getting more and more mandates, and you might end the election with a bunch of mandates, if at that point you don't get reelected, and a new mayor comes in, I don't think they will inherit
They
all
don't
your
carry
mandates.
forward.
Yeah, so
Correct. Yeah.
they'll
So
get
there
reset
is
back to
correct.
the
Yeah.
defaults.
The mandate pool is unique to the candidate, right? And so and then this is obviously, remember, everything we're discussing here
Subject
is
to
subject to change. This is all based off of testing essentially that we'll be doing. But as Bucky described, a mandate is unique to the candidate. And so if the candidate is voted out of office, like, yes, there is going to be a momentum slowdown because the other candidate, and as Bucky said, they'll be coming in with some default amount of mandates available to them, just fresh off the election or fresh off of whatever the election method is, that they can use to start their works. But as they roll those actions forward, are they generating more mandates or are they not? Right? That's kind of the intent behind the momentum a candidate has.
All right, I'm going to move us on to mayoral commissions, if you'd like to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I could do this one. Yeah, so we got commissions in our game is basically a simple type of quest with a singular objective, and there will be other types of commissions like, quest related ones, narrative related ones, but mayors will have access to initiate mayoral commissions, which are kind of special, and these are commissions that are meant to help the node in some way. So and then the node will be rewarded based on the amount of players that complete these commissions. So kind of back to how we were talking about, this is one of the ways to generate more mandates. If you're doing commissions and a lot of players are completing them and helping out the node, you'll be getting some more mandate power, and and the players will be rewarded as such. So you can get things like experience, node reputation, node currency, and other different kinds of rewards for helping out the node.
Yeah, and it's a good thing to point out as well is that citizenship participation is the key factor in mandate generation. Whether that's through policy enactment, through commission completion, or through buy order potential, or even unique, one-off predicate systems that exist outside event-wise or whatever, right? Your citizenship participation is what determines that. So commissions can be conducted by anyone, non-citizen or citizen, right? And so you want to see what the health is of your interaction as a mayor with your citizens versus the world. So that's an important factor as well to keep in mind.
Yep. And the commissions basically just cost gold from the treasury for the mayor to initiate, and they'll have a limited number of commission slots active at one time. And then you can have a variety of commissions that'll be enabled based on the node type, its location, the predominant node race, and different building choices, right? So there'll be a lot of different options for the mayor to try to see what they want to try to incentivize their citizens to, and other visiting players to work on.
Yeah.
Can they pick a custom flag for their node?
So mayors will have a emblem generation suite that will have a number of different components / damn, I can't think of the
Like symbols.
Kind of like how our tattoos
modular. Thank you. Yeah, it's a modular. It's a modular insignia system that you can choose and pick between to create the flag.
Cool. Can only citizens participate in commissions, or can
anybody can participate in commissions? Yeah.
So I can have my friend who's part of another node.
And just to be clear, there are mayoral commissions and then there are node commissions, right? And the node commissions are just general commissions that interact with the world around you, the POIs that exist around your node. And the mayoral ones are specifically chosen. Chris, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the mayoral commissions are specifically chosen by the mayor, which is kind of, it is similar to the regular commission system, but that system is more system generated, right? So anyone can participate in a mayoral commission, but for mandates, like I said, we track the citizen participation in those, right? The mayoral commissions are available for a limited time. There's no limit on the amount of players that can complete them, right?
Is there a limit on how many I can have? So how many I can...
Yeah, there'll be a limit on how many you can take at any one time. And you can't repeat one that's active, right? But once that timer runs out, based on how many people completed it, will determine kind of what reward the node gets as a result of that commission.
And the mayor also has a limitation on the number of active commissions he can set at a time. So the intent and purpose there is that the mayoral commissions serve as a strategic decision base for the mayor. What issues am I facing? What issues do I believe I will face? How is this aligning with my strategy? And then how will my citizens help participate in accomplishing these goals so that I'm best set strategically for what I intend to do with those commissions?
All right. And our last question for this is participation always going to be greater for larger nodes by default, or can a small node with close to 100% participation still greatly benefit from them?
Yeah, so I mean, that's going to come down to what commissions the mayor is initiating, right? Level 3 nodes aren't going to be initiating mayoral commissions that require thousands of players to participate, right? Because they don't have access to those, where metropolises that have a huge citizenship base will get access to those kinds of commissions. So the rewards will be kind of proportionate to the node level and the like expected amount of citizens.
All right. Moving on to our next one. Here we go. Policies, which we keep referencing in the other segments. So I feel like this is going to be the one.
Yeah, policies are also something we haven't really touched on a lot as well, although we have referenced it. Chris, if you want to take this one away.
Yeah. So policies are actions that the mayor can take. They're exactly what it sounds like. It's a policy, right? So as a mayor, I want people to be harvesting stone. So I'm going to initiate this stone policy, which is going to provide this benefit to people who are harvesting stone in the zone of influence, right? Now, in order to initiate a policy, players are going to be able to, or citizens will be able to vote on it and either turn down the policy if they don't want it, or accept the policy if they do.
Yeah, and that's a very key point, Buck, if you want to chat about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say also too, that's one of bringing it back to mandates. That's one of the really powerful uses of mandates, is it allows you to bypass the citizen vote on a policy if you wish. So you can spend that limited energy resource if you really think this policy is important. You need to even just like hotline it, or you think it's good for the citizenship, but they're not going to agree with you. You can just say like skip the vote, and that's one of like the cool powers for policies.
Yeah, and really an important aspect that players should be taking away, and part of what our interest in Alpha 2 to collect data on from player behavior, player sentiment, right, and your guys' feedback, is how much of an interaction is existing between the citizenship of the node and the decisions that the mayor is making. And policies are a great example of that, because it requires, outside of the mandates that Bucky was just talking about, which is very limited in scope, how much a mayor can do. And if they really want to spend their mandate capital on that, that's a decision they need to make. But the players are primarily necessary, the citizens, in order to vote successfully policies in place. And policies take a very card format type system, right? The node has a number of different locations from which they get certain types of policies from. That includes things like racial representative of the culture that the node is, something that's representative of the building selection and specialization that the node has taken, something that is representative of the predicate of happiness that the node is currently at. If they're very happy or not, you can do certain types of policies. So a lot of different predicate systems make available and also make relevant whether or not you can even suggest a policy for enactment. And then it requires the player buy-on, the citizenship buy-on, to actually get that enactment completed. And there's a limited number of slots that you can have active policies available at a given time. And on top of that, certain policy cards have a cooldown, so you can't use them repeatedly over and over again.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely one of the systems the mayor's going to be constantly like thinking about, like trying to min-max their policy choices, right? They're going to be like, oh yeah, I only have a limited number of slots, juggling a lot of different things like the economy of the node, if it's under threat by, a siege, for example, what they're trying to do, how they're trying to advance their node. They're going to be constantly looking at these policies, try to optimize them for the best.
And are the policies always voted as majority vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the next one here is, do policies affect the vassal
Just to be
nodes?
clear,
Go ahead.
you said always, except for the cases where the mayor uses his mandate power to override the citizenship participation, which again is limited in function, but it is a power that the mayor has available to them.
Veto.
Or it's like an emergency action, basically, right?
Exactly. It's an emergency action. And certain events will also make certain policies available. Like if a war gets declared or a siege gets declared, you have certain war footing policies that are now available to you. Those might require a much lower threshold of player or citizenship vote in order to pass as well, because of the emergency situations.
And so I'll re-ask the other question, because I think we went back to the other one. Do policies also affect the vassal nodes of that node?
So there may be policies that do, but they don't all inherently.
Yep. And there might even be policies that affect the zone around you. Policies have a wide range of effects that can be conferred. And that's the intent, right, for the system.
Yeah, they could go from affecting the buildings you've constructed to affecting the zone of influence of your network, right?
And the last one here is, will nodes affect the policies chosen in a physical way, like different objects seen or things like that in the node? Like, will they see things change?
Certain policies will absolutely have a visual change that are present, right? Not all. We want to make sure that when we spend our budget of either asset creation or content creation, that we're reflecting meaningful choices that are more wide arcing. And that might be in the realm of like props getting spawned to reflect, like, you know, you have a refugee status. Well, now I'm spawning a number of like guards and citizens with clothing and boxes of food to kind of represent, hey, we're taking in refugees because the node nearby got destroyed. That's how we would visually, diegetically show these types of effects within the world. And in the node layout tool and how nodes are constructed, those spaces and locations are predefined for certain types of either events or policy creation or relics, right, to show those things in those areas. Yeah.
All right, to keep us moving along, we are going to talk about service buildings now, which I'm very excited for people to see on the stream when we do the playthrough segment because it looks cool.
Yes. Yeah. Serving buildings are one thing we hit hard in the playthrough that people are about to see. But Bucky or Chris, if you guys want to take it away.
Yeah, I can do this one. Actually, maybe do you want to start with the next slide that kind of explains it, then we can go into the maintenance and demolition
Sure,
stuff.
we can go into the first one. Yeah, building types, go for it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so yeah, there's a couple different types of service buildings, right? We have your default buildings that come pre-built with the node. Those are things like the town hall, the warehouse, the caravansary. And then there's also constructed service buildings. That's a lot of things like the artisanship buildings, businesses that the mayor actually has to initiate and choose and then voted on and built by the players. And then the different types of buildings there are between that is some buildings are active service buildings. So those are like, you know, your artisanship businesses, like your different, you know, your blacksmith, your tavern and all that. And then some buildings are passive buildings, and those are kind of provide passive benefits to the node. They don't have a reason to be visited, but they unlock the ability to upgrade your active service buildings through expansions.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, so building expansions is the primary way you upgrade your buildings through expansions. I think we're showing expansion tree in the recording, right, for the blacksmith. And so to upgrade your building, you choose expansions, you build passive buildings to allow you to like unlock those expansion slots. And this will basically specialize your service building down a path, and it kind of the building specialization will narrow down a specific path. So you might start as a generalized blacksmith building, and then you'll specialize towards maybe armor smithing, and then towards specifically like plate armor through the expansion tree.
Yeah, the important thing with the service building system for us is that it's a way to shape your node like a character, right? And to give you an exclusive kind of niche that you can carve out in the world, or a niche that you fight over, right? If you go down this weaponsmithing path and you build your node to be this like mecca of weaponsmithing, and the node 3 doors down builds it, there's reason for you to conflict over it, right? They're taking your business. Or maybe you are in a zone and there isn't a weaponsmithing thing anywhere near you, and you do want to start to carve that path for yourself to make your node a place people visit and come to.
Yeah, and I think the key takeaway here when talking about node specialization is, you know, buildings provide, as we were talking about with policies, access to certain policy types as well, right? They're going to incentivize player activity and traffic to your node based on the services that the building is giving you. They're going to potentially expand the types of craftables and workstations that you're going to have available to you based on the buildings you construct. And there might be reason for you to construct the same type of building multiple times because the pathway of upgrades is exclusionary, right? So when I choose a path down a particular building type in order to reach a tier 5 benefit when I eventually reach a higher stage, or even if I'm lower stage and want to dedicate a majority of my service plots toward one particular crafting building, like I may get a very top tier workstation as a result, even if I'm still a village node, right? So like I'm the village node that makes the T5 swords because I've dedicated all of my plots to that, right? Chris, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the important thing is expanding your building requires other buildings to support it, right?
Mhm.
So to go from a smithing building to a weaponsmithing building, you're going to need to fill another plot with what we call those passive buildings, right? Or support buildings, and they are going to provide some kind of passive benefit to the node, as the name kind of describes, whether that's to the zone or to services in the node, but they're not going to be buildings that you particularly visit, but they will allow you to make the buildings you are visiting better.
Yeah.
And this is a
some
good.
of those depend. Just real quick, some of those
go.
dependencies that Chris said can also be conferred based on the vassalship network you have as well. So you might have a parent node or a regional regent node that has vassalship over your node, and you're getting benefits conferred to you through either the prerequisite of the building types that you can construct, as well to make a bit more headway there.
And I think because you're already talking about the plots and how you can space them, I know we're going to show this off in the video as well, but how much can a node's government decide where a specific building is placed?
So the plots in a node are predefined, but the plots are universal, right? So you can put any constructed service building in any plot, right?
Yeah.
And that's
the
relevant
plots
because
are in specific places, but you get to pick which plot they go to.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's relevant because when it comes to either events or sieges against the node and even wars, those building locations also serve as objective locations as well. And there is a varying degree of footprint and level design that's associated with access to those plot locations. So if you know that your smithy that has your workstation to build the T5 stuff is closest
right next
to the center,
yeah,
or right next to the door, like there's a difference there in strategy.
Yeah. And the next question here is, will nodes in certain places have unique buildings and unique upgrades, or kind of are all of those available to everybody?
So constructed service buildings are available to every type of node in every location, right? Where the uniqueness comes in is in some of the default buildings, like your node type building.
Yeah,
Okay.
and in addition to that, potentially relics as well, which are location dependent within the world. You can acquire certain relics that give you access to certain types of workstations, or that can augment certain types of workstations as well. And those could be closer located to certain nodes based on the POIs.
And I think you talking about sieges and destruction is a perfect segue into the next slide here, which if you guys want to go for that in regards to.
And how many
buildings.
slides do we have left, just so audience knows time to gameplay?
We have one more after this.
TTG.
One more after this
One
in
more.
a little
Okay,
video.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so I can
buildings.
keep going with this one. Yeah, so this is just more info about service buildings and how they're maintained. So service buildings incur regular maintenance costs for node commodities, or for the node in terms of commodities and gold. So to continue operations, you have to fund them, and that's definitely part of the things the mayor will be thinking about, is keeping that economy going, which we'll get into more on the next slide about buy orders. But basically, if you miss maintenance on a building, it'll enter a state of disarray. And building maintenance is auto paid, but and it kind of goes through like the most valuable buildings they'll pay first, and then if you don't have enough commodities though, or gold in your treasury, then some of your buildings will become in a state of disarray. And so if a building's in a state of disarray or maybe damaged as a result of a siege, it basically needs to be repaired. So to do so, players visiting the node can just contribute materials to restore the building to an operational state. And then mayors will also have the ability, if they want to demolition or demolish constructed buildings. So if they so choose, they can destroy a building if they don't think it's needed anymore. But this will have mandate, cost, and a player buy-in vote. So we want to make sure that mayor can't just go and blow up the whole node if they're trying to grief or something, right? So this is a very important and impactful decision. And then buildings can also just be straight up destroyed from a siege. Like if you are sieged and your node ultimately survives, you still might have taken some damage in form of destroyed buildings. and they'll basically become reduced to rubble, after which a certain period of time they'll become an empty plot again. You can rebuild, but so that's a very like, even if you attack a node and you don't destroy it, you can still weaken it. So that's kind of like a strategy for attackers, even if they aren't able to destroy the node ultimately.
And especially for events where monster coins can be relevant. These are some of the objectives that players might even have during PvE events if they utilize monster coins, is to either help organize the NPCs in assisting in the destruction or disabling of a particular building.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
And I think we can head on over to the next question or next segment, just to kind of move things along. And this is about buy orders, which we are going to show a bit on the playthrough as well.
Yeah, talk to us about buy orders, because this is a big loop for the citizens and the mayor.
Yeah, so buy orders are really important. They're kind of the primary way that the node generates these things we call node commodities, which are functionally node resources. Node resources are used, we spend them on buildings to build them and upgrade them, on maintenance. You can trade them with other nodes. They're super useful to the node and increasing its quality. Now, basically what it is it's a recipe that the mayor can initiate. Maybe they need bins of stone, like we show in the stream, and that's going to cost different materials, and players are going to have to contribute those materials to the buy order as a package, and they're going to get rewarded for it in the form of node currency. And if you're like a really economic and strategic player, you'll kind of be monitoring buy orders around the world and be trying to transit goods to get the most reward you can. And if you're kind of a local player and you just like helping your node, and you'll be, kind of using them almost as a surrogate vendor for something, a reward that's a little better than just dumping your materials at an NPC.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. So buy orders are instrumental in the activities that a node participates in, whether it be the transition of these node inventory items. And again, the node resources, these node commodities, they do not exist in player inventories. They exist solely within the node's inventory. So once a material gets sunk into the buy order, the player receives the benefit of the node currency, which right now is a bound currency that's used to purchase a number of different types of vendorable items that exist within nodes. It is not player-to-player currency. It is not intended to be traded between players, but instead it interacts with these unique vendors that supply a large segment of necessary components for a number of different things, whether it be crafting, enchantments, a lot of different things that exist within the node. This is the reason why you would want to acquire that currency, is so you have access to those types of items. And
like Steven, you just take all of them and you don't share them with anybody.
Unbelievable. I misunderstood the intent or what he was asking me. I thought he said he wanted me to share. Okay, anyways. When the mayor, or even if the mayor is not making these decisions, buy orders will populate based off of activities that the node have available to them after a set period of time, so that the bad faith mayor is not depleting the node potentially of its resources that players can still interact with. So the node can use these resources as well to trade with other nodes that might have resource types that you need available to them. And when selecting specific types of buy orders that require certain material components in order to fulfill, you will have a wide array of material choices to make, either those that are relevant locale to your node placement or those that are across the world. And there is a variable in payment that the mayor has access to in setting and how they'll be rewarding players. So you need to make sure that you're incentivizing players who are making those large transits across the world to actually take that risk and bring those materials to you. These buy orders require a significant amount of material components in order to achieve the necessary inventory that a node wants to see for construction projects, for trade goods, for a lot of different things that they use the materials for. So it is a big undertaking, but it is one of the primary loops that the node requires in order to get the steam to do certain things, right? And it is something that we showcase in this gameplay video that we're about to go to after this slide. We're gonna, and Chris and Bucky, I'll let you give a few more comments before I preface the video.
Oh, I do have a question for the community as well.
Oh yeah, sure.
But you guys can go ahead.
I was just going to add that buy orders also benefit from citizen contribution, right? It will generate mandates if citizens are participating in these buy orders.
So the question that people are a little confused about is they're wondering if you can explain what the difference between a buy order is versus a commission.
Yeah, so a buy order is strictly material based, right? And you don't accept a buy order and then go do it. It is something that you can just check your node UI, or you can check the nodes around you to see what they have active, and you can just go do it and come back and participate or fulfill these buy orders. Whereas a mayoral commission is more like a quest. It's something you pick up and then it tracks your activity while you have it.
Yeah, think of commissions like, there is the Sherwood Forest is nearby, and there's a number of wolves that have been attacking the villagers, and we need your support in taking care of those wolves. Go out there now, citizen, and bring back pelts to prove your worthiness, right? That's a commission. Whereas a buy order is more like a person standing at an auction, house saying, we're willing to buy this for this amount of money. Does anybody have this, right? And you're coming up, checking your warehouse inventory, checking your inventory, and you're depositing that in exchange for the node currency, and that then you're using the node currency to go interact with vendors and purchase vendors. Now, to be clear, node currency stays with the player even if their node is destroyed or they drop citizenship. This is something that you have available to you and you carry forward to your next location, but you may only spend your node currency at nodes that you're a citizen of.
And also, like, you have to have enough node rep to be able to buy certain tiers of things from the node with your node currency.
Correct.
Even though currency is generic, you still need the rep with the node to unlock better purchases.
Correct. And guys, I said this at the start of this presentation that nodes is the most complex system that exists within Ashes of Creation. It is arguably one of the more complex systems that probably exists across MMORPGs as a whole. And what I would say is what Bucky just commented on, which is node reputation, is a separate mechanic that also deals as a predicate for the vendors that you have access to as a player. Right. And so you can establish that node reputation by doing certain activities within the node, by progressing within certain social organizations or certain religions within the node. And then that predicate serves as your access either to items granularly within a vendor's access table or to just vendors as a whole. It just kind of depends. And there's different thresholds you have to meet across different vendors.
Yes, it is. And almost every system interacts with nodes in some way. It's a little crazy. So we'd be here all day if we went through everything, but we will give you snippets here and there throughout the upcoming months. So this won't be the only thing. Just hold tight.
Yes. And on that point, I do want to pretext to a degree what we're going to be showing here. And I know, Margaret, you have prepared a video to kind of give players some insight to...
Can we answer one quick question, which is, will buy orders include processed or final goods, or is it only just the raw materials?
It will include raw materials and processed goods, but not final crafts.
Okay, cool. Now I can play the video for you, Stephen.
Cool. So before we play that, let me just preface something. So it has been roughly 2 years since you guys have been inside of a node. And always, as usual, I say that things are works in progress. Art is constantly moving forward. Things are constantly getting better. And you guys get to watch that progress as part of our development journey. And not everybody is built for that, but you guys are here and you guys are watching and you're giving us your feedback, and it's very important to us. And what we're going to be showcasing today, we can't showcase everything, right? Some things are still in development, some things have yet to be developed. And what we are wanting to showcase to you is a village update, where we're showcasing some of the interactions we just discussed in this slideshow, such as mayoral activities, taxes, the initiation of buy orders, the completion of those buy orders, the use of inventory systems within the node to begin a construction sequence, interacting with the environment, and most importantly is now the visual representation of the node structure at the village stage. And this is something that is representative of the quality that we intend to have with nodes. for launch, and it is for Alpha 2. But what's most important from you guys when you are watching this is to give us, and it's about an hour-long video, so I told you today's going to be a doozy, or Margaret told you today's going to be a doozy. But it is
I think
is
it's like
something.
32 minutes, not actually an hour.
Oh, I thought it was like 52 minutes. I was watching it last night.
Mm.
Did I
thought it
watch
was
the wrong
32.
video?
I might.
Do you have the wrong video?
I'm
Uh-oh.
not-
I thought it was 52 minutes. Oh no, my phone died. Okay, well, it's either 30 minutes or 52. I'm pretty sure it's 52, but we'll see. And so my point is that when you guys are watching this, the best point of feedback is obviously going to be along the systems design that we just discussed, but keeping in mind that these systems are created when you're giving that feedback in a very intricate and interconnected way, and we don't have the ability to communicate all of the intent and purpose and all of the designs that are associated with it. So when you're giving feedback there, try not to think about the niche points that we may have already addressed, but more the overarching intent of the system and how you feel it will interface with you as a player. And when you're giving commentary on the visuals and the interactions that you're going to see in this video, think about ways that you would like to see things done differently based off of examples that you give on our in your past gaming experiences and what you enjoyed about what's been done visually. And we have an incredible art team here at Intrepid. Obviously, our environment artists are always amazing. You're going to be introduced to 3 of them in this live stream. But before we actually get into the video presentation, I want to remind everyone where nodes have come from. And Richie SH, who is one of our glorious content creators in the community, he made a video doing a walkthrough of a Alpha 1 nodes where the core functionality was present, the expansion, the development, the collection of experience. People saw them grow there. They saw the construction there, and they saw some of the interactions that we've detailed. But just take a look visually at where nodes have come from before you're about to see where nodes are now.
And you are right. It's 53 minutes. Also,
Got 'em.
Richie was
Got
on
'em.
our Q&A that we did in April. So if you want to check that out over on our YouTube channel, Stephen answered a lot of great questions over there. And so we can play the video and talk over it as we're watching it.
Yeah, and
my.
as we're
It's 4K,
uh-oh.
so it we grabbed this earlier today, so
Oh, okay. Hello there.
There we go.
Hello. Yeah, so just to give you guys context, this was back in Alpha 1. This was a very bare bones representation of the node, but had a lot of the core functionality present from the collection of experience around it, the vassalship system and locking out other nodes from progressing, vendor tables that became available, and new nodes and new story arcs and quests that were possible as a result, the purchasing of housing, the storage components, the citizenship and the mayoral election, right? All of this, the core functionality was there, but just to give you guys insight to development, this was not visually what we wanted to represent for the node, but served its purpose at the time. And so what we are going to see now is nodes for Alpha 2, the village update. And we're going to be showing more about nodes as we move forward towards Alpha 2. But this is an hour-long video you're about to watch that gives you insight to where we are now. And with that, enjoy the show.
Send nodes.
Send nodes. Send nodes.
we are sending nodes.
And welcome everyone to another live stream here in the world of Vera, and boy do we have an exciting stream today. We are back again looking at one of the most defining features of Ashes of Creation, the node system. And I am joined today by regular face on the live stream, one of our glorious senior designers, Mr. Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Oh, I'm doing swell. I don't know if I'd say regular though.
Well, I mean, there was once before, right?
There was one other time.
That's regular. Now it's 2 times. That's a regular thing, right?
I don't know. I feel like you're a regular on the streams.
That's true. All right, I apologize. We are joined once again by one of our glorious designers, Mr. Chris. How you
Well,
doing,
thanks
buddy?
thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
And for those of you who don't know, Chris is our resident expert when it comes to nodes. He lives, eats, breathes, and any other normal bodily function that's required revolves around the node system. So I'm glad to have you with us because you know what there needs to be known about nodes. Where are
lot-
we? Oh, sorry. Yes.
we're yeah, lots of things need to be known, but we're outside of a beautiful node that's around the corner a little bit.
Okay, and I
Uh,
believe I am the self-appointed mayor of this node for the purposes of what we're going to be demonstrating a little bit later.
Yeah, the citizens aren't super happy that you invalidated the election process, but
Wow. Wow. It's not an invalidation. It's a reaffirmation of the correct election process. So tell me what we're doing out here today. What are we going to be showcasing here? It's been a long time since we've actually taken a look at nodes, as many of you know. The last time we saw nodes was back during Alpha 1 in August of 2021. Wow. And nodes during that time were, relatively early functional version. They had a lot of the core systems and functionality present that we saw, which was, constructing buildings and participating in quest hubs. They were able to purchase housing and become citizens. There was all that there, but they were a very early representation of it, and definitely not visually or aesthetically what we wanted to present. That's going to be part of what we're showing. But what are we doing out here today? And while you tell me what we're doing, I'm just going to adjust some of the winds.
yeah, for sure. Well, today we're gonna walk through kind of the general process of what it takes to build a building. We're gonna get some materials. We're gonna get the nodes some materials. We're gonna get the nodes some money. And we're gonna build ourselves a little service building.
Nice. So we're going to go generally around the loops that players can expect. And obviously nodes are a huge system. They are, as I said, one of the defining features of Ashes of Creation, what sets us apart from other MMOs. They reflect the change that exists within the environment based off of player activity, player actions, and players have governance over these nodes, both from a mayoral perspective and the way that citizens interact with the decisions that the mayor is utilizing. And as a mayor, one of those core loops is, as you mentioned, buy orders. Tell me, should I be starting one of these? How would I go about doing that?
Yeah, so you probably should do that. There is a lovely menu you can open with the node button N.
Okay. All right. Oh, I see the node here.
And then you're gonna go to the treasury page.
Got it. I am on the treasury, and I see there's a number of different items in our node inventory.
Yeah, so
including-
these are node commodities, and they're the resources the node uses for lots of things like siege defense. They're going to use it for maintenance. They're going to use it to build buildings. They're going to trade it with other nodes.
Cool. And these are essentially the resources that the node are going to be using in order to initiate those activities, like construction projects you were mentioning, or trading with other nodes. And what is the method by which we actually acquire as a node these goods? Because these goods are not things that exist within player inventories, but rather they are generated by players interfacing with the environment in some way, shape, or form, and then bringing those materials to the node to get transitioned into these node inventory items.
Exactly. So we're going to do what's called a buy order. So if you look in the bottom left of your treasury screen, you're going to see a little plus button. You can click that and it'll open you up to a big list of commodities that you can select to kind of set some settings on the buy orders.
Okay, cool. This is looking good. And just always, as usual, guys, everything that you see is a work in progress. We are moving towards our Alpha 2, so you get to see, as part of our open development, things that are still works in progress, like the UI. This is a functional UI system, but it is not the version of our final UI artistically. Same is true for everything you see in the environments and in the world. So what should I be selecting today? What do we need? What are we trying to build?
You're going to need some bins of stone. We're going to build a forge today, or
nice.
a smithy. We
Smithy,
renamed
okay.
it. It's not a forge anymore.
Okay, cool.
And you're going to need bins of stones for it.
All right, so I see bins of stone in the industrial goods section. And
Yep.
over on the right-hand side, I see that I have the ability as the mayor to customize
the buy order, and what elements of this would I want to customize and why?
Yeah, so the first thing you see at the top is the recipe, right? The recipe is going to change the mins and maxes of the parameters you see below, how much you can pay players for these items, how long you can keep them active, and the ingredients are options you have for the recipe that you've picked, right, for different materials. So obviously, not all materials are going to be local to all locations. So kind of picking the right things to either incentivize players from a long distance to bring things to you, or picking things local because you need them now and you need them fast and you need them for a low amount of investment.
Okay, so the first thing I'm looking at is this purchase price. And is this what I'm paying players essentially from the node treasury on a per item basis of these materials?
So a buy order comes as a package, so players deliver them as a package. Okay. You are paying per package functionally, but that is not in gold, it's in node currency, which is the primary way that nodes are going to reward players.
Okay, cool. And so when I'm purchasing that package, is it that I'm buying one basalt and one halcyon and that is a package, or am I buying 50 basalt and 50 halcyon and that is a package?
That's going to depend on the recipe, but so it's not exactly always going to be the same amount of each, and the amounts it's per package will vary based on the amount of investment the node has to put into the buy order.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to set this, because I am a benevolent mayor, and I believe that people should be rewarded for their hard work and effort in helping to establish what the node that we are collectively a part of needs, and I'm going to set that to 2, right, just above the minimum, just
and
barely
I will say,
above it.
The more you pay, the more it will cost the node's treasury.
Oh, okay, maybe I'll set this back down to 1. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Now you see why the citizens are mad.
Wait a minute, they're not mad. They're perfectly happy. We just had a election last week. There's a 99% approval rating for me. So, and that 1%, they mysteriously left the node. I don't know where they went. They were in a plane. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so, all right, duration-wise, let's see, 3 days. Now, is this the amount of time that players have the opportunity to kind of turn these things in?
Exactly. So the last slider that you have there is quantity. And basically, when you initiate a buy order, the node is paying for it, right? So regardless of whether players finish it, you've paid for it. So the longer it's up, the more likely you are to get paid out. But the shorter windows allow people to kind of capitalize on it.
Sure.
The early bird gets the worm.
And just to be clear, I know exactly what many of the people in the audience are thinking. That if I was the mayor and I knew what types of buy orders I was intending to launch at some date, I could inform, via some type of insider trading, what that is going to be, so that people had time potentially to bring those resources to the node in advance and purchase out all the buy orders.
Yeah, that is definitely true. The mayor does have some power to give people warning, but they also have the power to pull the rug out from under those people too, right?
Yes,
tell them you need bins of stone and you need, basalt and halcyonite, but you actually use iron.
Okay, interesting. And then that way, if they are bringing those things, usually via caravan, given that a lot of the quantities for these types of buy orders are going to be relatively large in order to accommodate the necessary material components that the node requires, they might be subject to attack potentially, right? And so reputation matters here. So I see that in choosing quantity, I'm choosing 116 different packages, which means I'll get 116 basalt and 116 halcyon, and that will help us to finish this project, yeah?
Correct.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and schedule this order. Order details, okay, yes, let's see. Oh, okay, so this package it's not a one-to-one per se. This is 117 packages, which will constitute total of 696 basalt and 232 halcyon. Total reserve cost is 25. I'm going to confirm this. Okay,
Right.
there we go. All right, so it's kicking off. All right, so I assume you've brought me out here, and I don't normally participate in direct menial labor as the mayor of this node, but for demonstration purposes, I will help you collect some of these resources.
Yes.
I see we're out here in a beautiful part of the world. This is obviously the Riverlands, which many of our audience are accustomed to seeing. This will be one of the primary locations that we will be testing for Alpha 2. It is expansive. It is large. It is probably larger than most MMOs, just as a single biome that people have participated in. But I see we have some familiar Halcynite here.
Yep, I've got some insider information from the artisanship team on where we need to go.
Nice, very cool. Ah, we've added some blue smoke. I see to the effects here. Looks very good. I see there's some basalt here as well. And so players who are interested and see this kind of update at the node of the necessary materials requested, not all the time will those materials be in the locality of that node, right? That's as you were mentioning, a bit strategic for the node to either select material components that yield the type of node inventory items necessary or commodities necessary based on the geolocation of that.
Correct. And they might not even have access to buy orders for certain node commodities that are local to them, right?
Okay.
So higher tier commodities will be, further away.
Very cool. And will players around the world have an opportunity to inspect the types of buy orders that are currently listed at a particular node?
Yeah, they will be able to.
Cool. Very cool. So those of you who
So,
are
yeah.
traders and are interested in kind of, I'm going to start moving down this road now. Those
All
of you
right.
who are traders and are interested in actually capitalizing on the supply and demand of nodes and their competing interests in what they're trying to accomplish will have an opportunity to move those goods around the world, take that risk potentially, but receive a high reward as a result.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, I see we have someone up ahead here. Who is this?
Looks like a lovely guard.
A guard doing his duty. Let me pay him a visit and tell him how wonderful of a job he is doing. Fare thee well, God. Hello. Stop when your mayor is talking. Hey,
Listen, they're busy people.
does he not recognize my authority? And is he stretching in front of me? Do I bore you? Unbelievable. We're gonna have to a talk with his commander. This is a beautiful area. I mean, the environment team did a phenomenal job, obviously, always. And I think one of the big things that people are going to be in for a surprise here as we showcase this glorious node. Where are we going, by the way? This is Winstead.
This is the lovely Winstead node.
So one of the biggest differences that people are going to notice today, and of course it's very important to keep in mind, I'll go into walk mode here, I don't run into my own node. It's very important to keep in mind that nodes in Alpha 1, the last time we saw them, were very placeholder. Right, as I said, they were core functionality, but artistically they did not represent the aesthetic of nodes that we were intending to create. And the environment team has been hard at work in creating, obviously, the different stages of these nodes, but also in representing the type of visual fidelity that we want to represent within the cities of our game. And I believe that we have arrived at Winstead, and we are joined by some additional glorious members of the development team. I see two of them here. We have Mr. Tristan, our lead environment artist. Tristan, how you doing, buddy?
Hello, welcome. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing very good. We just went for a little stroll, got some resources, and now we're showing
All
up
right.
back to the
You got-
node.
You got everything we need?
I do. I think I have everything we need.
All right, good.
We also have with us, I see, Adam. How you doing, buddy?
I am good, thank you.
Another one of our glorious environment artists.
Yes. And there's
And-
one more missing. He's around here somewhere.
What? Where is he? Is
He's
he
back
over
over
here?
here.
What is this? Is this the Caravansary, by the way?
It is the caravansary.
Oh, very cool. Hold on, I'm gonna come look over there, but let me just take a look at what's going on in here real quick. Beautiful. And this is where players will have an opportunity to reserve certain caravan stalls. They'll be able to kit out, and we'll be showcasing this in a future live stream, probably a couple months away or so, where you can kit out your caravan with different components. You can upgrade these, and that is a default building, correct? The nodes don't select and create those by agency,
Correct.
but they come by default.
Yeah, that is a building that comes with the node, though it is upgradable by the node.
I see. Now, where is our third? Where is James?
Hello.
Oh, we have found him. Welcome, James.
Hey, I was just doing some stuff at my house. As
Oh,
an
you
early
have a-
citizen, I was able to get some
Ah.
real estate.
Very nice. Okay, look at that beautiful little house you have there. It's quaint. I think that's the appropriate term, right? Quaint. Are you
Well,
paying
you
your
know-
taxes on that?
You don't really pay us enough, so
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It is not the mayor's job to assign these salaries. This is a purely capitalist society. Those are that you need to speak to your corporate head.
I mean, I didn't vote for you.
Oh.
Oh no.
Hey,
We'll
guys,
be
I gotta hit
talking
with
after
some-
the stream.
I gotta hit with some bad news. James is invisible.
Oh, James, where are you?
I drank a potion of invisibility.
Oh, very nice. I can see you, James. I think you look
Well, that's
very
just-
nice for me.
That's because you're the mayor.
Yes, that is correct. I see all. I'm the mayor of Sauron. No, I'm just kidding. Well, let's head into the node and take a look here. This is, I mean, truly a sight to see. I love the layout. I love the aesthetic. You guys did a phenomenal job with actually representing, I think, what we want out of the node. I mean, visually, it looks great. Oh, look at a little piglet.
Yeah, you might find
Aw.
a few little small farm animals to hang out with around the town. But
Those guys are great. A little piglet. Talk to me a little bit about what it took to bring this node online and to the visual fidelity that we wanted to.
A lot.
Said him.
There's far more than just making the art here look good. It's also anticipating how we're going to approach 8 different races or more in terms of the amount of assets that we have to create. So it's more of it's not just an artistic problem, it's a logistic problem, right? So we have so much to do when it comes to the world in terms of the biomes and making this all work and functional. Because all this is dynamic, this isn't set in stone. This is something that's going to be spawned and created by the players and built up by the players. So.
And that, of course, makes it entirely more complex.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Like,
Yep.
we had to develop new systems for how we develop the art, how we lay out the art, how design can use the art, just so that it can be dynamic, it can be different races,
Right.
and it can show up in different biomes.
Yeah. Yeah. Not to mention we had to build up a new aesthetic to, really sell an Ashes of Creation look. Steven, before you go any further, can I show you something real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
Right back over here. You just come back here.
I'm on my way.
investigating this.
Where? Oh, this is cool. So there's like these little back alley areas where.
Tristan, why don't you go with him?
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We posted something up here.
Oh, what is this?
Who's that little fella?
Who is Tristan? Have
What?
you seen me?
Who's that?
I don't
Who
see
is
it.
that guy? Is that Tristan?
Yeah.
That's true.
Is that Lord
Oh,
Snod
my
himself?
goodness. Oh, wow. I am currently on the missing board.
You're
here.
on the missing board.
Yeah.
It's all right. At least people care about me. Hey,
Oh,
they're sad that I'm missing. Yes.
No, you have a bounty on your head.
Yeah, the reward
Oh.
the reward is 10 cents. So.
Oh,
Well, I'll take it. At least somebody's paying attention to me and where I am and where my whereabouts are.
Aw.
that is hilarious. So, talk to me a little bit about, we're going to get back to the systems real quick in a second, guys. But I want to just kind of go over what are some of the unique hurdles that we are accomplishing through the development of these nodes, especially considering that they have to go through multiple different stages of development, from crossroads to encampment to village to town to city to eventually these large metropolises, and how that makes this a very complicated process for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, essentially we have to plan for the buildings being able to expand, to get taller, to get bigger, and that has to happen from day one, right? Like we need to talk to concept and figure out how we get from, like you said, camp to metropolis, and then kind of work within those bounds. And there's been a lot of discoveries and pain and tribulation along the way, and this guy just died.
Oh no!
But yeah, it's a work in progress, like it is for every stream, right? Like, but I think we've have a good start here, and we'll be able to really kind of push forward and show progress.
Yeah,
it's in the future.
Beautiful. Absolutely, it is. It is a beautiful view, this area. And I know that there's been some changes kind of in how we anticipated node expansion working, and utilizing a more district-oriented approach, where expansions kind of are previewed or at least telegraphed to the node as development continues, as expansion grows. Players start to see construction taking place within the node to represent those expanding areas.
Yeah, that's right. As the mayor and the citizens start, bringing more online with their node, you'll start to see the outskirts of, say, like this village, for instance, start to have little construction projects. Grass will be cleared. You'll start to see, scaffolding and other things being placed, as well as materials, and you'll start to see the village expand into a town, and then a town into a city, and so forth and so on. And it's really exciting to be able to kind of build those systems and visually still have them look, well, you can see how it looks, but
yeah, absolutely. And it's not just, obviously for those of you who might be a little bit newer to the audience and the project, the systems that are in place to accompany this node progression, these city progressions across the world, are really intended to be defined by player activity, player action, player choices. Whoops, we have a little bit of a weird mesh issue over there, but that's okay. Really meant to reflect the player choices, right? And that includes building construction. And as we were talking about earlier, these buy orders are the primary method by which nodes can procure the resources necessary. One of the other methods by which nodes can help kind of utilize that expansion is through treasury acquisition, with taxation, with trade agreements and other nodes. Chris, we have some resources we've collected. Where are we going to head to next to kind of utilize that?
Well, if you'll follow me over here.
Alrighty.
We're going to go to the warehouse.
All right, I'm on my way with you to the warehouse.
Now, this is a building that you're going to, manage your material and item storage. You're going to obviously interface with the buy order manager. I think he's called the requisition agent these days.
All right. Cool.
So if we're going to want to talk to this lovely fellow over here.
This guy here?
Yep.
All right. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. All right, and as you see, kind of the portrait still, outstanding. You're going to see that some of the UI. Greetings, citizen. I am tasked with purchasing goods. How dare him refer to me as a citizen? We need to fix the greeting tables. I mean, really, the disrespect. Okay, I am tasked with purchasing goods, which the node uses to construct and maintain its varied services. Would you like to see our current requisitions? I would indeed. Exchange rate. Okay. All right. And so now anybody who is participating as a citizen or as just a player in the game can go to these locations and they can fulfill these buy orders. So right now I'm seeing that I can adjust the quantity of goods that I'm going to be offering to the node. And we might have a little bit of a problem here because it's saying that the total value of goods I want to contribute are 232 currency worth, gold worth, to the node.
Well, you're exchanging 2 for every. You're getting 2 for every package you're fulfilling. and you can
Oh.
fulfill all of them, it looks like.
Should I do that?
I mean, do you want to share the love?
Okay, I'll do that. So I exchange. Confirm. Let's see here. Total materials. Process this order for 232. I will confirm that. Boom. Done. So now I have acquired node currency in exchange for this for these materials.
Correct. Also, you did all of it. You didn't share anything.
Uh-oh. What does that mean?
Well, the currency is bound, so you can't trade it with anyone. So you
Oh.
fulfilled the whole buy order, and you took all the reward.
Oh. I thought you meant share as in like I would take that and then later I would use what I received and give those to other people in other means, like through, servitude as a servant-oriented type leader. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know you meant actually not fulfill the order.
Listen, I need some node currency.
Oh. I'm sorry. I didn't know that's what you meant. I thought you meant share as in like me give more resources. I didn't. Okay. Will that be a problem or are we good?
No, we're good. We're good.
Oh, okay,
You
okay,
just-
okay. Cool,
I'm just
cool,
a little
cool.
hurt.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. Well, I can speak with a guy. I know some people here at this node.
Okay, for sure. Hook me up.
All right, so we fulfilled this buy order. What is next in this loop?
So now we are going to talk about taxes. You just
Okay.
spent as a node 25 gold to initiate that buy order, right?
Yes.
Eventually, we're
I
going to
see
need.
the treasury says I have 75 remaining.
Yeah, and that should be enough to build the building, but you probably want to start replenishing now, right?
Yes.
So you're going to open up your node panel again
Okay.
and take yourself to the treasury page.
Done.
And you're going to look, there's a taxes area.
Taxes area. Taxes
It says
area.
tax rates.
Oh, I see that. Okay. Tax
And
rates.
you're going to be able to adjust those as the mayor.
So I want to go to advanced details.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, perfect. And so this is, I see that there are a number of different potential modifiers. These probably are going to be offered out as either the node levels up or as upgrades. How does that work? Talk to me a little bit about these
Yes.
modifiers.
So at a high level, in early node development, you're not going to get access to a lot of these, right? This is probably pretty close to what a node level 3 is going to end up getting.
Okay.
And we've broken the things that cost money in the node into different categories, right? As the node levels up, you're going to get access to kind of deeper controls on the taxes so that you as a mayor can kind of incentivize players to come to your node to do certain things, right? If you're a node that loves, smithing, you're probably going to want to lower your taxes on artisanship to incentivize players to be here. But then you might want to drive up taxes in other avenues that players aren't necessarily coming to your node for, but are using out of convenience, right?
Okay, cool. So we need to generate some more income.
Yep. So I would recommend cranking those taxes.
Oh my god.
Oh man, not again.
Oh, here we go. This is not me. This is, it takes a village. Literally. Right, that's what we're doing right now.
It takes from a village.
It
yeah.
takes from a villager. No, just-
And it goes to the roads, right?
yes, it goes to the potholes in the roads.
There's seems to be quite a lot of them here.
I have adjusted the tax rate to 75%.
All right, now if we go over here to this guy,
All right.
you can go ahead and buy some stuff, and 75% of the base cost of these items is going to go to the treasury.
Ooh. I see here. This is a bit grayed out for me. Maybe I don't. Guys, again, you're going to see some placeholder stuff.
It
That
looks
is-
like
I don't have room for some stuff, so I'm just going to be killing some things. Nobody pay any attention to the non-existent icons. Yeah, some of that art is still pending. Okay, I will now interact with this gear vendor, and let's see if he can sell me some items. You know, these are grayed out for me.
do you have any money?
Oh my god, I have no money.
It looks like you probably only have node currency.
I need some money. I'm going to use a cheat panel. Nobody look. This is a little bit of a cheat panel, okay? You're going to see where I can...
You're saying your mayor is
We'll just-
broke right now, right?
We'll just
Yeah.
pixelate it.
Yeah. Nobody sees anything. Where do I
No,
want
maybe
to
you
go
did
here?
need that node currency more than I did.
Yeah. So what do I
Uh,
do? Character, gold. Let me get some gold. Give gold. You know, I'm going to give myself 1,000. And I will now speak with this individual again who was so rude and curt with me when I tried to buy stuff from him. Didn't know who I was as the mayor. Okay, cool. So we want to generate some currency for the node. We're just going to demonstrate here making some purchases. Oops, I probably need to... Hold on. Sorry, my bad. I'm going to select some of these different items. How do I make that purchase? So I'm just selecting these items.
Yep, you should just be able to right click them.
Right click. Oh, there we go. Yeah. My bad. Okay, how much gold do we need for the node right now?
This is more not for you to just make a bunch of gold right away, but just to make sure we're getting more gold over time. We have
Okay.
enough to make the building.
Okay, let me check the node treasury. The node treasury now has 112.
That should be plenty.
Okay.
So now, you want to build a building, Steven?
I want to build a building.
All right. Well, let's go have a nice little waltz. Well, actually, open your mayor panel here for us.
Okay, mayor panel is open.
And you're gonna hit N and go to the buildings tab.
Done.
Now, here you're going to see a list of all the buildings we currently have constructed. Since this is a pretty new node, all the buildings in this list are what we call default buildings, which means they come pre-constructed with the node. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you're going to see the empty plots.
Okay, very cool.
Uh,
And just to be clear, the default buildings are offering default services, as you were saying, apartments, warehouse for storage, or the caravansary for the caravans and reception of those caravans. Like, all nodes will have a base default list of services that are offered regardless of type. And then what we're doing now is we're specializing the node to cater specific services in order to draw traffic of players to us.
Correct. Yeah. All the services that come default with the node, we've kind of, as a design team, deemed essential, right? We want caravans to move around the world, so everyone should have a caravansary. We want players to have storage, so everyone should have a warehouse, right?
Cool.
But that doesn't mean those default buildings can't be upgraded and specialized themselves, right?
Awesome.
But the empty plots are where you really get to start specializing your node.
All right. And I see a smithy under artisanship.
Correct.
Okay, I've selected the building.
Yep.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
here we go. We have a little bit of a tree here that talks about its expansions.
Yeah, so buildings can expand, and as I kind of alluded to with the default buildings, they specialize as they expand, right? So this isn't like a traditional skill tree. It's exclusionary, more like a tech tree, right? So selecting the next upgrade for it will lock out the other two paths, right? So as you get better with the building, it will continue to narrow, which allows lots of nodes to carve out lots of niches in the world.
Very cool. And so, because of this, because it's exclusionary, it would be relevant for certain nodes in order to achieve a broader spectrum of upgrade potential within a particular building type to potentially build multiple of these buildings.
Yeah, exactly, right? If you want to be the home to weaponsmithing in your node, you're probably going to have 3 smithies to capitalize on slashing, bludgeoning, and piercing weapons, right? And then there are other things you can do with the policy system or with the relic system to kind of amp that up even further.
Very cool. Very cool. And so, let's say, and I know we don't have this, or I'm not sure if we have this yet implemented, but let's say, for example, I as the mayor, I'm about to start this build, right?
Yep.
Do I just click on this build right now?
Yep.
All right. Oh, okay, here we go. Construction requirements. So I have the bins of stone, and it looks like we have the cords of wood.
Yep.
Citizen contribution. So the citizen contribution, that is in reference to when this construction project begins, citizens will need to come to the building and contribute resources to aid in its development.
Yeah, so unlike buy orders, you're not directly rewarded for this, right? As a player. This is kind of our way of ensuring that citizens want the thing that the mayor is asking them to do, or is spending resources on, right? So if you're a mayor and you're just like, I'm going to build a bunch of this building that no one wants, then players aren't going to contribute to it and they're not going to get built.
Good call. Very cool. All right, let me confirm this. Players will have 2 million days to provide the resources for construction. Well, that's good. You know, I want to be a lenient mayor. And I, as many in the audience know, we expect Ashes to have a very long and fruitful lifespan as a product. And 2 million days is a bit on the, maybe conservative side of what we'll actually see overall. But I think it's a worthwhile time. Are we good with that? What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, 2 million days it is. Okay, where do we go to see this building?
So we've constructed it over here. If you want to follow me this way.
All right, I'm following. I don't normally run in my own town, but I will. I will run for this.
Listen, I got places to go, people to see.
People to see. You work at the behest of the mayor.
So you notice there's a gentleman here you can talk to.
Right.
And this
Does he also
is
work for
the.
me? Just to be clear, he's a foreman.
He does.
Okay.
Technically, he works for the city.
I am the city. I am the law. I'm just kidding.
And this gentleman is the construction foreman. So this is where players will get to go to donate resources to the construction of a building.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. So he has nothing of nothing acquired. Well, what is it you say you do here, Mr. Construction Foreman? He hasn't collected yet any resources?
Oh, you just initiated it.
Do I have to do everything myself? Should I give him 100 of the oak log?
I mean, I think that's a fair thing to do.
All right. Let us donate. We shall donate to the foreman. Oh, it's beginning to construct. Now, Bruno and Scott did a great job with this construction, animation, and visual effects. As you will see, you're going to see a sped up version of this here, but typically, Chris talked to me a little bit about the time expectation for these types of projects, and of course how that's a variable depending on the stage of the node and the building type itself.
Yeah, so we want this to be an exciting thing. So once materials are kind of contributed to it and it's ready to finish, there's going to be any kind of variable from like 15 to 20 minutes to even a couple of days for it to finish constructing, depending on kind of the power that the building offers to the players, right?
Very cool. And James, Adam, Tristan, talk to me a little bit about how you guys go about constructing these different, more modular sets of building creation, and what it takes to kind of, master that across the multiple different cultures that we're anticipating to present within these villages.
You want to take that one, Adam?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a lot of trial and error, but it took a lot of practice to figure out, what the correct size of the buildings and the plots, the walls, the doors, all those things are, and then to dial them in so that going forward, any future races, it's all kind of somewhat plug and play as long as we're making them to those specs. The big thing is the aesthetic and how that will change between races, which is, still a work in progress. But like in this, for example, this one is a lot of Anglo-Saxon type architecture influence.
Yeah, the Kalar, absolutely.
Yeah, but that's how it works for the most part, and it's all modular, so we can make these buildings in mostly any size we want. So it could reach all the way up to the sky, multiple floors if we wanted to. Not saying we would, but and that's the idea. So then this right here will construct those pieces for the player, one piece at a time.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I love the. We previously had a different version of this in. Oh, look! It has little fireworks playing above the building. That's awesome. So it's drawing attention kind of to the construction. We had a version of this obviously in Alpha 1, and that was very sped up for what we were trying to accomplish there. This technique is meant to more represent that longer period of construction requirement.
And a lot of what you see right now, it's technically being generated procedurally by the tech from our tech art team, which is Bruno has been putting together, which is like basically we kind of took an approach similar to other games that you might see in like strategy games and stuff like that. So there's a scaffolding approach that kind of builds things up and forms around, and you'll see some people kind of working, hammering. It's very rudimentary at this current point in time, but yeah, no, the goal is to have it be as versatile as possible, so that when we actually need to make 100 of variations of these, we don't have to sit there and make animations one by one, which we did in the past, which gets very complicated, very expensive. But in this case, it's more of a procedural, you plug and play, like Adam
Right.
said.
But I do
run.
I do want to clarify that we're not saying that these nodes are fully procedurally generated. It's the building aspect is, but the nodes themselves still have a handmade aspect to it.
Correct. Yeah, this is all just for the construction phase, so we can kind of have things done in a way that feels natural, but doesn't really take years and years to actually complete the final product.
Right.
Awesome. Absolutely. Very, very impressive work. So, Chris, now that we have constructed this smithy, what are we doing? Do you have a little duckling following you?
The ducklings are very aggressive right now.
I have one following me right now.
Oh my god.
But that can be fixed.
No.
Do it.
No.
Do it.
Do not kill that.
Do it now.
Do it. Do not kill that duck. Oh my god.
Oh God. Oh
What
God.
are you
very aggressive.
doing? What are you doing?
You
Did you just
monster.
murder that duck?
You
just murder our tax rate?
Oh my god, you can't kill innocent animals over your disgruntledness tax rates.
I would say that's more for food for the village, but
And, rebellion. I'm trying to...
What have you done? You can't even eat that. There's not valuable meat on this creature yet. That was just
I just got a hunting certificate, so...
Did you really? Oh no. Oh, you're
no.
dead. Well,
oh no, oh
wow.
no.
The goddess of creation herself has smote you.
Fair enough.
All right,
It needs to be done.
Chris, what are we gonna do at this smithy?
Well, what do you want to do? We can do some armor smithing. We can do some weapon smithing. I honestly think after that heinous act against that duck, you really need some better weapons to defend the beautiful creatures of this node.
Agreed. I am so angry. I could just scream.
Oh,
Sorry.
well, over here is the weaponsmithing station.
All right, cool. I was looking at this a little bit earlier. Whoops, I turned off my UI. All right, what do we have?
Well, I hear the artisanship team hooked you up with the ability to make a blood sword.
Oh, do I have materials? Oh, I do have some materials. What should we do? Oh, the Sandals of Holding bag. It's like infinite space. That is a GM bag. Okay, so I do have some materials. What do we want to do with this material?
Do you want a blood sword or not?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Do I want a blood sword? Is a blood sword good? Is it better than what I already have? Where is the blood sword? Crystallized blood sword. Okay, I see.
It's going to be a pretty spicy sword.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, let's try this. What are we going to do here? So I already have the materials for it. So I just go
Yep.
to craft one quantity. Hold on, it says I can't craft this.
Yeah, so you got to add your mold to it.
Oh. I have selected my iron weapon mold. And I am using that mold and crafting. Oh, I do have a crystal blood sword now. I shall rule with a mighty fist. Let me equip this. Well, do I actually have... Oh, I do have it. Oh, okay. That's pretty sweet. I like that. Yeah, it looks great. Very cool. Alright, so now that we have constructed this building, there are also a number of upgrade paths that players can utilize to specialize the building further. We previewed that in the tech tree for the building, and each building comes with that sort of customizable path of upgrades that are possible, and those continue to give the node a higher specialization, which makes it relevant for player traffic.
Right, and the idea with that too is no one node can do anything, right? So it kind of is leaning into this idea that you need to travel your goods around the world and go to a lot of places to do a lot of things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is a beautiful, I mean, gosh, this is just, I love the atmospherics. I love the more nature-oriented aspects of the interior of the node. Now, this node, Tristan and Adam, James, this has a bit more topography than what we were seeing in Alpha 1. Talk to me a little bit about the types of node templates and footprints that we are leveraging with the design of these villages and cities.
Yeah, so there should be kind of a handful of different types that you'll experience in the world, and they all have their different benefits. So in this case, we kind of have a plateau landscape layout for this one. It's not like you said the flat landscapes that we've done in the past. We've also got ones that will be like rivers flowing through it, and as well as like being nudged up against, say, like a body of water or like a cliff face sort of style. So in this case, this is one of the more basic versions that you'll see for the current layout styles that we have. But yeah.
Yeah.
Not only that, the node itself will have its own type that's best suited to develop into. I think this one's an academic node.
Yeah, this one is academic. So I see we have kind of a placeholder node type building here.
Yeah.
That's the town hall.
Oh, is that the town hall? I apologize. This is the placeholder one over here, the kind of citadel looking one, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, that is a work in progress. So we have that standing in for now.
Beautiful. So this is kind of where all the activities take place for, citizenship interactions, the paying of these dues, the opportunity for players to kind of interface with their local government and the custom quest arcs that are available based off of the surrounding POIs. Up here is kind of the city center, so to speak.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
This is where elections happen, right? Normally.
Normally.
When you don't GM command yourself mayor.
Wow, unbelievable. I just sat down. You guys told me to GM myself, mayor.
There's also a place where punishments could happen.
Where's that? Are there like gallows over here or something?
Yeah.
Is
Are
that
you threatening the mayor?
Yeah, is that the type of mayor that I am? Do I just have like public hangings or something?
I mean, if you're that type of mayor, you could just hang anyone.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
depends upon who messes with the ducklings. That's all.
Yep.
I gotta go.
I noticed that we have a bit of homage that we're paying to the excuse me, to the windmill monster that many players experienced in our pre-alpha testing.
Yeah. Yep.
And you guys remember that? That was like 2 days straight of us getting stuck at a loading screen back in like 2017. That was a fun time. I love the
Having
windmill.
a mimic the size of a windmill would be pretty
I think we actually did turn. So at some point we updated that image to be a windmill monster that was eating
Oh,
the
yeah.
pre-alpha players when they tried to
Oh,
join.
yeah. That was great.
It was really good. Oh, it's beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. So, you know what? I would like to thank each of you for showing our players the update to nodes. This is one of many updates that players will be seeing over the course of the next time till Alpha 2. And as it relates to kind of the systems design of these nodes, showcasing the core loops with the mayors helping to initiate buy orders, as well as commissions in order to generate these node commodities, these node these node inventory items, by which then the node utilizes to kick off certain either events or service building constructions that that create an additional loop for players to participate in. I think that this is very exciting, that the node is absolutely beautiful and it hits the aesthetic that we want. But what's most important is to get your guys' feedback in the community, you guys as our players, giving us your thoughts about the visual fidelity that these villages are representing. You'll have an opportunity to see additional node stages as we progress. This is a lot of work that the environment team has been doing a phenomenal job, in my opinion, in creating. But you guys need to give us your thoughts. You like what you see here? What can be done better? And then we are going to chat a little bit more about some of the system changes that we have introduced as part of our road to Alpha 2 as it relates to the nodes. So yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Is this nodes part 4 or part 5?
This I don't know.
No.
This is you're gonna kill me.
Steven, I hope you're okay.
This is not yet nodes part 4, but this is getting close.
Okay.
No, you guys did a great job.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone will get that reference there.
Yes, exactly. But Chris and I will be joining you guys in just a moment to talk a little bit more in detail about these systems in just a moment. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Seems like people enjoyed it. I'll be playing the video in the
Yay.
background whilst we continue to chat. There were some questions in the channel that, or in various channels, all the places we've accumulated them. Our community managers are hot on the trail, and of course, social media. The first one here is, can node NPCs be customized? If so, what kinds of customization options are there? And can NPCs be upgraded and with things like crafted gear?
Yeah, so there are a group of NPC types that can be customized. Those are the mercenaries and the guards that defend the node against events and sieges. Those customization options are conferred through utilizing upgrades within buildings like the barracks. But if we're talking about appearance, can I change their hair or their facials? That is not something that is provided to the players.
Can we cook duck soup? No, I'm just kidding. That's not the question on here. The chat was just losing it. And the apples, the guy hammering the apples. Clearly, there are bugs. We're
There's
not.
Applesmith.
We
There's
know.
Applesmith.
Applesmith, yes. Granny Applesmith. No. Can you
Yeah, no,
kill? Oh, go ahead.
Just to touch on what you said, clearly there are bugs.
bugs, yeah.
Absolutely, guys. Always remember when somebody, out there who's perhaps, not watching development as closely as our core audience is, expressing to them that this is work towards Alpha 2. Things are work in progress. There's going to be bugs. You're going to see weird things. That's the whole process of development. We're showing you a slice that we bring up to a little bit more level of what some would say is
Higher
polish,
fidelity,
right?
yeah.
So that exactly higher fidelity, so that we can get a good amount of feedback from the community, and you guys are not obstructed by things like, visual.
Because sometimes
fidelity.
we set buildings up in a node and it's all gray boxes, right? Like we don't show you
Absolutely.
guys
Oh,
that
yeah.
because we're playing around with layouts and ideas and how the flow feels. And sieges
well,
and level
it's a-
design, but
it's
we don't
also
show
a
you
diff-
that because it doesn't.
It's a
you'd be like, "What
difficult
is this?"
barrier that yeah, exactly. The gray boxing and the prototyping for those who are not in a line of development work, it's a difficult barrier to make it past that visual, that dissonance there. So that's why we bring things when we showcase these systems and whatnot. We bring it up to a digestible level.
We try.
Yes,
2-hour digestion. It's a process. The next one here is, can you kill guards at a node? I know we've talked a little bit about this, but they want to know, can citizens kill guards at their own node? How effective are guards in combat in order to protect
Yeah.
citizens?
Guards are capable of being killed. However, that is a very tall barrier to surpass, meaning that their skill level is relatively high. Their damage mitigation, their output and power, those things are very difficult to overcome, but they can be killed. And again, you can upgrade guards through policies, through upgrades within the barracks structures, and you can even place mercenaries and guards ahead of certain events.
All right. And the next one here is, can node to node, well, I guess following up on that, in
Yeah.
sieges, will guards be more active, or are they going to play a more passive role?
During sieges, guards and the
Merchants and NPC.
no.
Quest
Yeah,
givers?
non-combat NPCs are despawned during sieges,
Mhm.
unless they're relevant from an objective perspective. And then combat NPCs, which include the garrison, which is a military detachment that gets spawned based on the upgrade choices that the barracks have been made, and the existing guard populations will be present to participate in the siege from an AI perspective.
Sorry, I just want to add that little bit on there because I think they were asking about sieges too. Can
Yeah.
node-to-node trade supply some of the commodities that are not present in the node that starts
Absolutely.
the buy order? Okay. And
Yeah,
does that trigger a
mayoral-
caravan between the nodes?
Correct. So mayoral caravans, which I'm not sure we've elaborated too
Talked
much on. We've
about
talked
them,
about
but
it.
yeah.
Yeah, essentially what happens is mayors who need certain resources that either they don't have enough of or that they're prospectively investing in, they will initiate a mayor request. And any node that is that sees that request on the mayor on the mayoral node, the mayoral caravan drop-down menu, will have an opportunity to attempt to fulfill the trade request. In order to fulfill a trade request, a node must have a certain level of relationship with that requesting node. At a minimum, it has to be a trade agreement relationship. And then there's a limited number of those trade relationships that you can have, and that scales up to eventually alliance perspective. And then once the node requesting mayor accepts a potential fill order, then a system spawned caravan is generated, and the transit is completed. And players can participate in helping to defend that or not.
And we'll have more information about caravans coming up in a future live stream, so stay tuned
Yes, very
for
soon.
that.
Very soon.
Then the next one is, can we see the empty plots so that we can plan out the physical placement of buildings?
Can you see the empty plots? Yes, there will be a node map that players will have access to within the UI. And on that map, you'll be able to see the plot locations.
Yeah, and you can see them in the world too. Like if you walk around, you can tell that less space is used for a building, like a governmental building. Yeah. And then the next, I think there's a follow-up to this. Can you choose where to place them? So we talked about this earlier in regards to that, which is there are designated plots, but the mayor can choose which plots to place them in. And so what Stephen had stated before is that there's some strategy to this, right? If there's a plot that's close to a gate and there's a plot that's further inland in the middle of your node, maybe you want to be strategic about which buildings you place near the door, because those ones might get destroyed faster. And then if a siege happens and you have to, it gets destroyed, now you're having to put more resources into that to fix it, to bring it back up to a non-disarrayed status, because you want to be able to use it, right?
Yeah, and basically just the quick answer there is, of course, plots exist within the node and all buildings can be placed in any plot.
All right. And then Is the game time requirement the 2 million days in
That
game
was a
time or
bug,
real
yeah.
time? Clearly not.
No, that was a bug. I was just making jest of that. And again, to reiterate, the UI is very work in progress. You are seeing what is the version of our functional UI, which is not representative of our artistic UI, which is player facing.
It would be cool if
So
the mayor could be like, "Hey, I want this to be done within this time frame," and they have like a window that they can choose between. Would be cool.
that is dictated by the type of building that's being constructed.
Mm,
So
okay.
each building has its own associated construction rate or time, and that can be augmented by certain effects, some of which can be conferred through policies as well that give you
So
longer construction
power.
times.
So those policies could mean that you construct things faster, but the more powerful the building is, expected to probably take more time. Is that a
Correct.
good annotation? Okay, cool. And I think that's it for the major ones from the chat. I know we're going to have a million. We'll be here all day if we answer all the questions.
Oh yeah.
So we do want to let you all go at some point. So we're going to do a quick studio update, if you don't
Yeah.
mind, Stephen.
Absolutely. Studio update. Things are going very well here at the studio. We continue to grow with, of course, your guys' help out in the community, spreading the word for Ashes of Creation, especially our content creators and those of you who are our de facto headhunters that talk that talk about Ashes on social media and whatnot. We have a number of listed positions still available. We show that on social media as well. Anybody who is watching this that's a developer that might be interested in potentially applying for the team, you can always visit our company website at intrepidstudios.com and take a look at what roles are available. Our
Slash
hearts go
careers for the list
slash
of
careers,
them.
yes. Our hearts go out 100% to some of the studios that we've been seeing having layoffs recently. That is always a very sad sight to see. This is a very close-knit and small industry, and many of the people who are a part of these development studios are there because of a sheer passion that they have as being one of us, a gamer, and wanting to make something that can make you guys, their communities, happy. And it is just a very sad thing to see sometimes when these studios get closed down, either through mismanagement or, through whatever.
And we're
And
trying on our end to have some scalable solutions in place
yes,
for things like that,
yeah,
because we understand in development, there's times where, hey, you need a lot of QA or a lot of CS
sure,
or influx of artists for certain times of things, but you don't need them for the longevity of the entire
hmm
project. And so coming up with solutions that are like contractual or things like that
right,
can really aid in that. So it's not like, hey, people are getting left, laid off left and right. I think,
yeah,
again, that's something that we're trying to be conscious of at Intrepid Studios as we grow.
correct,
And like Stephen has said a million times, we are trying to grow smartly and only get people in the roles that we really need at the time. So that means
correct,
some teams are, wearing many hats because that's what that life is
absolutely,
like. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. We have over 150 developers now at Intrepid, and that touch the project in some way, shape, or form here in San Diego. We are continuing to hire, so send people our way, good people our way.
Yes. Send them our way. And of course, we did like a potluck this month. It's been fun. The studio, we were constantly always trying to celebrate the little things, the little moments that we have internally with our internal milestones too, because that's a good morale boost. And just the teams in general have been kicking butt. So sending love to all of them. If we can get some little hearts in chat for our developers. One of the things that I always say is like, it's so hard when you hear players say, oh, the developers don't care, because deep down, the ones who are working day in and out, we care a lot. And yes, sometimes things don't always go the way that we expect, but we're trying. And at least
Yeah,
Intrepid
and
here, we care a lot.
absolutely. And just to give a shout out, guys, I know I was watching chat. You guys, it seemed that the sentiment was resoundingly positive with regards to the visual direction that the nodes are taking. Just want to give a shout out to our art team, in particular, our tech, our tech artists and our environment team. Tristan, who's their lead, they all do a phenomenal job. Zachary, Scott, John, James, Hans, Hal, Charlie, Cameron, Brandon, Brianna, Young, Adam, and Adam. You guys have done a phenomenal job. Brian as well, and Bruno. Just big hearts in chat for them. They slave away at making us visuals that we all want to see, quality level in the games that we spend a majority of our time in, our free time in. And it is one thing to have an artist working on something. It's another thing to have a passionate individual who wants to play in a world they're creating. And I feel very, very privileged and blessed. And I express the sentiment on behalf of our community, our team of developers, artists and all, continue to strive and do an amazing job. So very well done, Intrepid. I think that this was a great moment for the community to see the direction that nodes take. We are the node game. This is a fundamental world building aspect that MMOs have not historically seen or had an opportunity to leverage or utilize to the degree that we are doing so. To a degree, that's the risk that is Ashes of Creation. What will players do with this newfound power? But at the same time, I feel it's the most appealing one. And so, for that, big props to the team and for you guys out in the community, giving us your feedback and joining us on this journey.
Speaking of the community, we are going to grab some Q&A, but of course we do have a thread up, and while we do that, I'll play more of the video. But we do have a thread up right now for feedback. Please give us your feedback in regards to nodes, the village node update that we provided with you. And we will have the 4K video up on YouTube as well, as per usual.
Shortly after.
Shortly after, so stay tuned. So with the questions, the first one here is from Gall about potion chugging. What is the intent? Go ahead.
And just real quick, Margaret, I know we have a lot of these questions, but I do have a hard stop at 1:30. I thought we were only going to be 2 hours, so maybe just grab the top 3.
Okay, I'll grab the top 3. So the first one is about potion chugging. What is the intent for potion consumption during active combat? Will we chug potions regularly, or will there be a moderate cooldown?
Yeah, there will be a cooldown for potion use. It is intended that potions are relevant during combat. There will be a mixture of potion use as well as meals and or drinks. That's something we'll get into a little bit in the future, the differences between those things and what types of benefits they confer, because they are unique to the type. But there will also be tiers of these different types of things, and those tiers will share cooldown. So you might have a very strong potion and a very minor potion. They'll have separate cooldowns that they share with their same tier. So the intent is not to spam potions during combat. The intent is to be tactical in the use of these potions, because you do not have an unlimited ability.
All right. And then Sun Garden wants to know about mounted combat. How will it be evident to players in a PvP scenario what types of abilities they might anticipate from an enemy's mount if its owner has a skin of another breed applied to it?
Sure. Great question. Mount abilities are really meant to be a learned information source. This is not meant to be something that I can look at a mount and know without interacting with that individual, that player, what that mount is capable of doing. And as such, when they have skins, excuse me, when they have skins applied, whether it be through in-game earned or through cosmetic purchase, you will get a learning for what that mount does by observing its use case and taking that knowledge that you have learned forward with you.
All right. And the next question here is about node citizenship, and this comes from Rinadal and Azare on the forums. And they want to know, can a player be stripped of node citizenship by any player agency other than node destruction? For example, being exiled by some government process? If so, what happens to their house?
No, they cannot be. There is no player agency function that allows for a citizen to be dismissed from a node.
All right. And that is it. Oh my
Ooh,
gosh.
we did it.
Made it
Oh
to
my
the
God.
end. It has been a long journey, but thank
The
you all
weight
so
is
much.
off my shoulders now.
I know. I was having
Our
like
shoulders.
a little heart palpitations at the beginning. But I always do that before the streams. I get so nervous. Don't forget that Stephen will be joining the discussion round on September 10th. That will be streamed at twitch.tv/Yokai Theater. We'll be making sure that you're aware of all of these things on all of the social channels. So make sure you follow us so that you don't miss out. There's going to be a lot of answers, I'm sure, about node things and variety of other stuff. We'll see. And, of course, please head on over to our forums to leave us feedback. We're very diligent about making reports for our development team. And you can find that at forums.ashesofcreation.com. And of course, we do have the None Forgotten Cosmetics swap over that's happening on September 13th at 11 a.m., where our last cosmetic set will be swapped over. So that will be our September set. And there will be an FAQ with that set giving you further details. But if you have any questions, make sure you let us know so that we can ensure those are in our FAQ. We do have an FAQ in the August one, so check that first to make sure the question's not already answered. And of course, we would like to thank you all for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed this, that you stuck around with it, that you were hydrated and walked a little bit during it. But we also want to thank Bucky, Chris, James, Tristan, Adam, and of course, Stephen for their time, because these do take a little bit of time. And we hope that everyone stays safe and healthy and that you follow us on all of the things. We are Ashes of Creation in every place that you can think of. Give us some love over in all those spaces. We try our best to keep content and, keep you filled with some Ashes of Creation content almost daily. So come hang out with us over on our social platforms. And we will all see you next month.
Bye, guys.
Toodles.